course, we met when he was 7, and we met through a mutual friend. And of course, I was still in school, so they had visited. I'll say it was fun because for the most part we traveled. I was the president of Kogi State Students Union in Obafemi Awolowo University. So I'd had to go to Kogi State for portions of our bursary as it then was. So I used to go with my other officials. So we'll meet in Kogi, Lokoja to be precise. Then there were times where I had to travel, and I remember him fondly buying firewood, along the road to take to his mom. So I would also buy for my grandma as well. Those were days where he lived in a room apartment and he didn't even have a cell phone. I remember he used to go and queue at the business center, and I was living at the sport hall at Obafemi Awolowo University. So most times I would queue waiting for his call, and he would have secured a spot, but because there are other students in front of me, perhaps receiving calls or making calls, it's usually difficult to get through. And eventually, when I got a cell phone, it was still the same routine. He'll have to go to the business center and wait to be able to get to his turn before he could get in touch with. So I never. One thing I find fascinating about him from the very first day we met, or particularly when I met Mama of blessed memory, his mom, is the relationship they share. My goodness. I've never seen a mother and son share that kind of relationship. Very unique. He's generally very kind, very thoughtful, and all that. But they have the best of mother and son relationship. Mama was very thoughtful, very kind with her time, and also helping to juggle. As you know, he lost his father at a very tender age. So Mama was constantly there. And when he's around Mama, even as a governor, he's like a child. Mama will be seated on a couch and he'll just sit on the floor. Mama will just be rubbing his head and, use her forehead to touch his. Other time, just bring alcohol and be praying, and he'll want to eat with Mama and stuff. So they had a very beautiful relationship. I remember when we were still struggling back in Makodi, even when we had to cook, he was constantly in the kitchen, you know. Of course, I was learning from Mama to, learning our local delicacies and how Mama makes it with a local clay pot. So he'll come to the kitchen to help out. There was this particular occasion during fasting. We didn't have a fridge, so we used to keep pure water in our landlord's fridge. So I made beans. And for like 3 days, we were warming the beans back to back. So on this day, I think, was it? I can't remember. I think it was 500 naira. So, and I looked at this 500 naira and I thought that I needed to cook something that would last for at least a week. So I didn't go to the regular modern market. I went to one market where farmers used to come, So when I got to the farmers market, of course, it took a little bit longer than usual for me to get stuff. So my husband thought I got lost or something. In fact, he freaked out. So he looked around the the usual modern market. There was another market that we normally go to. He couldn't, and by the time I got back, like I saw him seated in front of the gate like a child, like he was so scared. So he just came and he hugged me and In fact, he didn't bother asking other questions. So when I had to tell him why I had to go to this other market, he just started bawling, and we hugged and we're like, it will get better. Like, I think Sarah, when he bought a car, he bought this car that he got a plate number written 2015. So, I mean, we just looked at it and I didn't make any deal out of it. And of course, as usual, we'll cruise around town and all that. So the first day, he just muted the idea. We had a viable business going for us, the real estate, the transportation, and we're doing very well. So it's never in my wildest imagination. So when he said that, I'm like, what is going on here? And I remember while I was thinking about that, his eldest brother, Prof, that is like a father, to us, called me and was like, did you hear what I'm hearing? And before I knew it, the next day, we did family intervention. Like, he called my husband's other siblings. Mama was there. It was, one literature after another. So, but after everything, he made us see reason why. Because we had a particular challenge that period. Mama was kidnapped, and that incident really shook the entire family because she was away for over 3 months. And when she got back, she was a shadow of herself. That was like another major challenge that we had then. So, and he was able to persuade each and every one of us that if we keep shying away from this position, who will lead our people? Who will bring this much change that we desired? Of course, amongst other things. So, Mama and his eldest brother, were also quick to let him know about our family, our values, our tradition, our morals, and he reassured us that none of that would change. And we gave him our blessings, and that was how it all started. It was like an out of body experience. It was so surreal, like it was unbelievable, you know. Like I said, my mother-in-law will call me like, are you hearing? Like, is it possible? You are the lawyer here, there were also incidents in the court, and I'm like, tell us, is this even doable? Is it possible? And my father-in-law, that his eldest brother, that one too will call. Like, talk to me. Like, is like this would have been like the miracle of a century. It has never happened before, But when it became imminent and it became so real, I think till this day we're still in awe over the grace of God in our life. For God to have chosen Mama's son, for God to have used Mama's son as a vessel, it's a huge blessing that we never took for granted, and we will never do that. We're so grateful to God for it, because we didn't have any big person up there. We never knew anyone. I remember I used to tell people, they used to think that perhaps we knew the former president. Like, we didn't even know his gate man. Of course, we've always supported, because, of course, through our transportation, we've always supported his government, his campaign and all that. But never, even when he had to make that effort, it was like, okay, you guys should just give me your support. Let me try and see, and God just bless it. Of course, there was a lot of pressure. First of all, we're very young. We didn't know anyone. So now seeing everybody come in every day, it was a lot to juggle with. And there was also the path of everyone wanting one appointment or another. My mother-in-law used to say that the way they even ask her for appointment is like they thought that he seated on her lap and she just, So, of course, it was a lot of pressure. Then, of course, there's also the angle of our young children who were used to having their dad around constantly and having to explain to them, using words that they would be able to understand, you know. Um, the I think the pressure, one major moment I would say when he had an accident. Um, it was because, as you know, for a public figure, whenever there's an incident like that, online media, mainstream media, some will blow it out of proportion. So before we knew what actually happened, we were in fact freaking out, you know. And when we found out I had just a fracture, you know, and he had been rushed to the hospital, I had to quickly go there and all that. But it was very challenging because the process of healing, as you know, took longer. I think slightly over 3 to 4 months. So, and for someone that is this strong, not wanting help in that sense, having to carry him before he was able to, gradually start working, it was very, very challenging. Now, of course, while doing that, I still had to govern a state, So I remember his appointees bringing in files, and we had to, and some of them will even go to our bedroom to present those files. Fulfill the bringing him downstairs and going back there may be challenging. So it was tough.
إن قلوبنا لتحزن وإن عيوننا لتدمع وإنا على فراق فقيدنا لمحزونون اللهم اغفر له وارحمه وعافه واعف عنه وأكرم نزله ووسع مدخله واغسله بالماء.
I think aside the issue of the accident, I'll say the one that really stood out then would be when he lost his mom. For anyone that knows him, they know that Mama was like his God here on earth. He loves and adores Mama so much. And when she died, it was very, very challenging. Very, very challenging. As if that wasn't enough. He had lost his eldest sister, I think 2 months prior. So the death of Mama further exacerbated the pain he had to endure. And to go through that for any human being and juggle governance was very, very difficult. You know, I had to just pick up the pieces. It was a very tough time. Grieving, and like I said earlier, governance can be very jealous, as one cannot wait for the other. I remember COVID came in shortly after, and he had to provide leadership. So he basically had to snap out of grieving to provide leadership for our people, dealing, grieving is an everyday thing. It doesn't get better. You only get to cope better, by the day. So it's been a struggle. I think that was, without a doubt, the toughest time ever. But I had to put up a tough face and provided leadership and governance for our people because they really needed the dividends of democracy and a leader. It didn't matter whether he was grieving or not. Of course, they were empathetic, but even then, there was work that needed to be done, and he had to show leadership. So that was the most challenging time ever.
But we'll never know, 'cause that's
You can't go through life without challenges. It's like going through school. There were moments of doubt, there were moments of it's up and down. But by the time you're graduating, like you literally forget all the challenges that you must have been through. So I thought it was challenging, no doubt. The fact that we didn't have, or he didn't have a political godfather made it even more challenging. Um, but overall, like I said earlier, I will ever remain grateful to God for His grace. Regardless of the recent challenges that happened also, we'll never change that experience. God has been faithful and He's left an indelible mark. And of course, history will be very kind to him. So that will forever be grateful to God for because God has given him an opportunity, to lead. And we're humbled and grateful. The truth is that he has not changed. If there's anything that has been consistent about him is the fact that he's been true to himself. He's very thoughtful, very kind, very supportive, and he has a very sound moral upbringing. When you have him in your corner, you can just go to sleep because he's loyal. He's fiercely loyal. So I think that has been consistent. And he's very kind. He loves any human being, regardless of class, religion, or race. He's been very constant. That's the truth. The truth about him is that he's very, very kind. Very thoughtful. To our kids, he loves his children to a fault. I can't recall him ever raising his voice at his children. Never. He's like the go-to person for them. I used to tell him that when we have to play the good guy, bad guy cop, he's constantly the good guy. And I used to tease him like the kids tend to get away with anything when it comes to him. So I have to be like the hard one. He's very, very kind to them. And as a husband, he's not that, he's firm, but he's very loving, very generous. He's not the typical husband that will probably focus on just his wife. He's been so thoughtful that my siblings and my mom can comfortably look up to him as a father and as a brother, an elder brother, because whenever he comes around, he's asking of everyone, like about my siblings. He wants them around me. And at times I'm like, they went to see their family too. Like they should all come over. Actually, there's a room downstairs. Let them stay there, So he's that person. Even when if he has a conversation with them and he notices anything that's, it's not usual, it's that person that will be like, what's wrong? You sound off also, So he's very kind and thoughtful, and that's him just making sure that mentally, psychologically, and in terms of those that really make me happy, they're constantly around me, Of course, with the advent of politics, it was really fun because we like to cruise around town. We like traveling a lot, and we love traveling by road, So within Abuja, we just drive. He loves driving. Then I used to race behind him. And I remember when I was in law school, to digress a bit, when I was in law school, and even when I was an undergraduate, usually after every exams, he'd come to pick me and our young daughter then. So we'll go with two vehicles. He'll be in front. Even there were cases when I was pregnant and he would just be speeding in and out. Just have to drive behind him. And most times we get stopped by the police, and when I come out with my big tummy, they're like, and you're driving fiercely like this, I said to them that he's my navigator, because before he'll overtake any vehicle, he'll have to consider if I could pass and all that. So then, of course, in recent times, we do travel, we do cruise around town, so it's very, very kind, very loving, very generous. Not having him around constantly was challenging, so I had to juggle both, position. But luckily, I had my mother-in-law with me. So she was that big person, that I could go to most of the time. And she made it a bit easy. But, with politics, they basically walk around the clock, even though he wasn't around as often as he used to. He would create time, like quality time. It became about the quality of the time we had as opposed to the quantity of it. So before he was always around, this time around, he made a deliberate effort to be there when he really needs to, and we make the best of it as a family. Yeah. So the adjustment was not so easy, but of course we had to adjust naturally because we also had to look at the bigger picture, the greater good. We realize the position of authority was given to him by the sheer grace of God. I mean, we all know how it all happened. And when so the best we could do as a family was to constantly support him in ensuring that our people are able to get the dividends of democracy. Very courageous, like he's fearless. Very, very courageous, fearless. The third one is that it has the largest heart I know. He's very kind to a fault. Like, my husband wants to help everybody if it's possible. In fact, he doesn't eat alone. And I'm sure you may have noticed that, like, so that I learned over time how to make big food because if I don't create room for everybody, he'll just say, babe, so and so is around, bring more, bring more. So he doesn't, in fact, he won't be able to swallow the food even. He will start calling everybody. Or have they eaten? Even if they say they've eaten, he'll be like, they should still come. I'll say thank you to him for his gift to humanity, his gift to me as a husband, as a father, as a friend. I would like to thank him for all that he's been to us, his family. On behalf of his friends as well, to thank him for what he's been to them, to our state, Kogi State. We thank him. And I'll continue to pray that Allah grant his heart desire and continue to lift him from grace to grace, crown his effort with successes, and grant him many, many, many more years in good health. And bless his children beyond his imagination, because our prayers as parents, just like our parents prayed for us, is for our kids to be better pleased than us. So it is my prayer that our kids are able to even attain even bigger positions where they'll be able to give back to humanity, our country, our state, and our family. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you've been to us. We appreciate you, we love you, and we bless Almighty Allah for using Mama as a vessel to bring you to this world. I'll pray Allah continually grant Mama Jannah to Firdaus. Thank you.